Hey guys,
Hi.
good to see you all. We're live, hanging out with some friends, J House Vlogs. Hey J House.
Hello.
I was telling Dana before we went live, I was like, I should just call them J House Vlogs just to make it awkward and just see what they do. But she's like, don't do that. It's like, okay.
We would have just gone with it, you know.
J House Vlogs. So tell us a little bit about your channel, and then let's talk about some homeschooling stuff.
Well, we are daily family vloggers, and we have 4 little kids, ages 7 and down, and we homeschool as well. And
we started our channel about the same time that we started homeschooling, and so we just enjoy sharing like what we're learning as a family and how we're serving as a family. That's what we like to share over there.
Yeah.
Cool. It's cool. Yeah, you guys go check them out. There's an interactive card on this video here if you're watching here, or there's a link in the description below, so you guys can go check out their channel, because it's actually been funny, Jeremy and Kendra, that there's like, I don't know how often, but every once in a while we get comments from people saying, you guys are just like J House Vlogs, and you guys should collab and talk with them. Do you know about J House Vlogs? And we're always like, we've actually done some videos with them before. You know, we've hung out with them before. Yes, we know J House Vlogs.
We've gotten similar comments. They say, you guys should go check out the Schmovies channel. And we're like, we know them. They're awesome.
Yeah. So it's good to have you guys on our channel. Thanks for hanging out. So tell us about this trip you did and how homeschooling went on the road. We aren't in the traveling position right now, but soon well, eventually, not soon, but we want to be. So give us some tips, ideas for doing homeschool while traveling.
Okay. So I didn't realize how much traveling we did until I was thinking about this. But last year we actually traveled about 7 or 8 weeks out of the year, and we went lots of different places. And then this year we've already traveled for 3.5 weeks. And so I guess we do kind of travel on the go and homeschool. We definitely homeschool the whole time that we go. I think there's like not any right way to do that at all. You just find what works for your family. And so we have found some things that help us. One of them is preparing before we go. I do a lot of research about the places we're going and what we can do when we get there.
Kendra does a lot too to prep the kids. Like I remember when we were going on a trip, she like picked each state we were driving through and had activities and stuff set up where the kids were getting all excited. And then when we did actually travel through those places, the kids were all excited, like, we're in New Mexico, because you had done all this prep.
So just like teaching them about the cities and the history, like just made it more exciting. I remember driving over the Red River and they were all like, this is the Red River. And I'm like, this is cool that you guys are excited about this.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I was impressed. I think it was in your vlog you uploaded today where they were pretending like they were driving somewhere and actually knew like the cities and everything. I was like, what?
So
it's pretty impressive.
Especially our oldest, but he likes to have an atlas.
Yep.
We have an atlas with us when we're traveling. Like that's one of the things they kind of play with in the car while we're driving. So I don't know. They really like that.
I remember one other experience. We were right by the border of Mexico, and we were crossing some specific river. I don't remember what it was, but it was midnight or 1 a.m.
We were driving late.
And we knew that Isaac would have been so excited. We almost woke him up, but it had been so hard for him to fall asleep, we decided not to. But it was just fun how enthusiastic they were about every single sign in every state, and it was exciting.
That's so cool. So did you make a lot of stops in each state to do something special, or you just talked about it on the way?
We mostly talked about it before we went. We tend to just kind of drive through, maybe like make one stop. But
it goes a whole lot better when there's a lot of kids.
Yes, just like get there. Hello.
The vlog.
There's the chat over here. There's Kendra and
Gotta
Jeremy.
Stop to vlog.
So yes, I gotta bring him up to speed on the story here. So
Sure.
this is us vlogging. Okay, we'll get back to live.
Sorry.
It's nice. You're with friends. You don't have to apologize about pulling out a camera and vlogging.
Yeah. Everyone knows just what to do when that happens,
Like,
and it's not.
awkward.
Exactly.
So when you're driving on the road, do you have stuff that they're actually like writing and stuff, or is it mostly verbal teaching when you're driving?
It's both. So when we travel, I don't take all of our normal curriculum with us. I usually make like a small folder for each of them. And then I have kind of a bag that's our homeschool bag. And we don't do school every single day when we're on a vacation, just because some days are different.
Vacation.
But the days that we do, you know, we get it out and they kind of have a school day routine. And most of the days that we're driving, I mean, they're just a captive audience. They're just stuck in the car. So we do school in the car. So I have like some kind of workbook type pages. We do read aloud books, like trying to just make the most of the time in the car.
So if you've seen our vlogs, Kendra always has like 300,000 library books and stuff checked out. And it's the same on these trips. Yeah, she'll get all these library books, but then she'll also check out all these educational videos. And I'm the bad influence. I'm always like, let's just put in Tangled, or let's put in some no, let's wait another 2 hours and then we'll put in this educational DVD. And it's been good. They respond well to it because, you know, we're not putting in all the other stuff. So she's done a really good job at that.
And they're excited that they're watching something regardless. So.
At that point, they're like, anything.
Yeah.
So,
Like for our kids, a reward for them is to play on abcmouse.com. Like that's the reward. We're like, okay. Like usually it's school, but okay.
Our oldest currently has a typing software he's using on the computer. And he's like, Mom, if I finish my chore, can I do 10 minutes of typing? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Well,
That's awesome. I loved typing.
Can I do more school if I do a good job? Yeah. Setting the table? Like, absolutely. Go for it.
I know. We've enjoyed that. This last trip was the first trip we've had a tablet on, and we downloaded before we left just some educational games. So they did some of that in the car too. But one of the things we really liked about this last trip was we bought our local children's museum membership pass before we left. And because we were members here, like there's other museums you can go to, other places, and get in for free. And so we were able to go to a children's museum in Arizona and in Nevada and in Utah, all for free with the same pass.
Yeah.
So
That's totally worth it. We haven't gotten a pass here because it's just like, how many times are you going to go to the same museum in a year?
Exactly. We haven't had one before either. But when I realized that we were going on this trip, I'm like, yes, it saves money in the long run for going on all those.
I didn't know it worked that way.
Yeah.
I know it
And
works
now
like
we're
for a
taking
gym
other-
It
membership,
depends
but
on the museum too.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it has to be.
It does. There's a list. I think the list is like 300 museums, but you can look up which states you're traveling to. And
That's cool.
things.
That was a smart thing to do.
It worked out really well.
So did you just like back off on stuff and just, like when you're traveling, you can do a lot of geography and maybe history and things like that. But did you slow down on other subjects to pick up on them more later?
So I was thinking about that when I was preparing for this. And I think for the most part, we let go of a lot of our traditional schooling and kind of follow what's going on as our schooling. Especially, we're almost always visiting family. And I feel like the kids learned so much from that. Like our oldest did some interviews with their grandparents about historical things. I'm like, these are the only times we could do this. Like we do a lot of hiking and like seeing things in those towns. But my our 6-year-old is at a place with her reading where I can't just let go of it for a month. Like that's not going to be good for her. And so her curriculum we did take, and it's only about 10 or 15 minutes every day, but we maintained it while we were gone. Whereas my son's at a place where we could, check in on things periodically, but he didn't have to be doing it every day. So I like to pack light. I don't want to take it all with us. So
For sure.
I guess for the most part, we let the trip be the school and then resume grammar and stuff when we get home. But for her, so I guess it's kind of case by case.
Kendra is really creative too. One of the things that I was most impressed with was she prepared a interview or like a survey for Isaac to do with any member of our family. And so he had to pick 6 different members of our family and ask them all these questions about their life and what they've learned. And I thought that was one of the most meaningful homeschool things we did, was taking advantage of the fact that we're with family and learning about things that happened back in 1950 that they wouldn't have learned about except for this process. I thought that was really cool. Someone asked a question about, the social aspect of being a homeschooler and interacting with adults and stuff. And I thought that was a really neat thing. And all of the family we talked to was so impressed with how Isaac was so capable at having this conversation with them and kind of asking additional questions and follow-up questions. And Isaac is still talking about those things. And I love that you did that. That's great.
That is so cool.
That's one of the things we've talked about in a previous hangout here is like that social question, because that's all I go by too. And by the way, you guys feel free to ask your questions and we'll jump in on them as we can. So we're watching the chat. I see all you talking about what time it is right now. So go ahead. But people are always so concerned about their social, like how are they going to be socially with their peers? but no one is ever concerned with how they are socially with adults, which is kind of is weird to me. But like just in that case, like they get to interact with me and Dana and our friends, and they're hanging out with like other adults and
neighbors.
And they're not like intimidated, like, ooh, I don't want to talk with the adults, I'm going to go play with the kids. Like they're not big scary creatures or something.
Like,
you know?
Hannah loves talking to adults, and it's so fun to see their reaction.
And they have
of a
mature
kid
conversations for 7, 6, or 5. How old are our kids? 6-year-olds. We have I lost track through like 2 or 3 of them.
So on our last trip, so one of our trips last year, I had a moment where that just really stood out to me, the socialization part, how people are always so concerned about that, which it's important to consider your kids' socialization skills. But we had gone on this big 6-week trip, and everywhere we stopped, we were seeing friends and meeting new people, and the kids would just jump right in. And I was just looking at like how many friends and relationships they've been able to cultivate with like cousins and, you know, roommates we hadn't seen in years, and they did great. Like it's
well, and the other thing that Kendra does phenomenal is she gets us involved. One of our kids are let's sets up service projects in the places we're going. So when we were in Arizona, we were doing service with the people in the community. And then when we were going through New Mexico, or it was Colorado, we stopped at like the state capitol and we went in, we talked to some of the people there doing tours. And so having the opportunity to be in the community and actually interacting with adults, I think again is just, you know, giving them that opportunity.
That is so cool. That makes me want to travel more now.
Yeah, well, I was homeschooled my whole life, kindergarten through 12th grade. And my dad loved history, and we lived in the Northeast around Philadelphia. Tons of American history stuff up there. Mm-hmm. So we'd spent a lot of time going to like Valley Forge, going to all these old plantations, visiting old president houses, where different land grabs happened and all that kind of stuff, and Gettysburg and everything. And we didn't like homeschooling was tons of field trips, and even field trips where like you're out as a family doing something else, you just make a quick detour and go do this one thing. So like I thought it was like a great way to experience stuff rather than just in a classroom in a school looking at some bad PowerPoint or in a textbook, you know. So
were you saying that that's how you got to learn growing up?
Yeah, that's what we did. Like it was more like hands-on, practical. We did travel a lot. My dad did a lot of speaking at different camps and conferences, and so in exchange, rather than getting paid to do it, he would just be like, well, can I bring my whole family with me? And he'd speak for free. And they were like, yeah, do it. And then they found out that he had 6 kids and 4 boys, and we ate way more than he would have been paid, you know? So they're like, I think this was not a good deal for us. But we got to travel a lot as a family. We had an RV and did a lot of that kind of stuff growing up. I would love to do
really
that too.
Cool.
Once the kids are older and we're not doing this all the time.
And we don't have
so just to respond. Oh, okay. I was just going to respond to some of the questions that kind of go along with what.
Go for it.
There's some popping up here when they hit too. Go ahead.
Okay, so looking at this, people were asking why homeschool compared to public school, and I grew up in public school. I went through public school my whole life. I love it. But it did take a lot of time. You know, it's very structured. We have friends who they're out of the door on the bus by 7:45 or 8, and then at 4, they're off the bus, and that's just a lot of time. And the traveling is one of the things I've loved, is that we have been able to take a month and just go. That's one of the things I've loved about homeschool, is that opportunity to not have to be there. So that was just one thing that I've loved about traveling and being homeschooling.
And you're self-employed, so you get the freedom to do that? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I still, like, I did hearings. I had court hearings on the phone, and I had clients sending me emergency things that had to be done. But with email and our ability to do stuff over the phone and online, we were able to make it work. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. There was a good question I thought Jaden Faith asked it about how did you get your kids motivated to do school while you were traveling? Like usually when they're on vacation, they want to take off from doing school. But how did you flip that?
Yeah, we didn't really struggle with that last year. You're talking about on the trips. How do we get them motivated? Yeah. So last year, I think I did a better job of preparing the kids. Like, this is different than a vacation. It's a trip. Like, it was a 4-week long trip. Like, you're going to be expected to still kind of do your things like
responsibilities.
your chores. And I don't know if I did as well this time because we got some resistance from our older kids. They're like, wait, we're on vacation. And I was like, no, we're on a trip. Like, that's different. Dad is still working. Mom is still doing laundry and making you guys food. Like, we're in a different location. We're having fun, but we still have to do, our daily things. And so that helped a lot, that they saw that we were still doing our things. And I think keeping enough of a normal routine that some does feel normal, like every school day that we have starts with the kids doing their daily learning notebook. It takes them about 10 minutes, but it's kind of a signal to all of us, like, okay, and now we're doing school. And so I always bring that with us when we're traveling, because like, okay, today's a school day, get out your daily learning notebooks. And even if they mumble and grumble for a few minutes, once they get into it, they get into the routine.
I think one of the biggest things that you did, though, was when we incorporated our cousins or friends we were with in the schooling projects. Like, we did a programming with Legos or a programming with robots, and the cousins were all doing it together. Then it was really easy for the kids to do it because everyone was doing it as a family.
Or going on field trips or different things. Like, that's one of the funnest things about traveling is there's all these like new field trip opportunities instead of just the usual ones at our house.
Yeah.
So.
Or even when we were driving to Texas and Toby was a baby, we had to keep stopping every few hours to feed him.
We found some really cool stops.
Yeah, we found some like Civil War sites, and so Dana would sit out in the car and feed Toby, and I would take the kids and go climb on some old cannons and investigate an old log cabin and read the little plaques and stuff to them just along the way. Just turn any trip into a good educational experience. Now
I love that, and it creates such an atmosphere of like exploring and learning as a family. Like, I think when they see us involved in it and excited about it, it's not like, oh, go do your school. It's, hey, we're learning about this all together. That's really fun.
Color for Pause asks, what if one of your kids doesn't want to be taught? How would you motivate them?
On that particular day?
Yeah, well, our family is not an option. It's like doing chores. It's about part of being part of our family. Daddy does work. Mommy does work. This is part of your schoolwork. And if you don't do it, then you don't get any of the rewards that come from, we teach our kids that good work brings good reward. And we think that's a biblical principle. And so we just teach that to them. And then, so if they don't do their good work, then they don't get a good reward. If they still get like defiant about it, then we escalate it to other types of discipline. Like, it's not an option. You got to do it.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, okay, you're going to go take a nap.
Yeah, usually it's because they're tired and cranky. Yeah,
we're similar that it's not optional. I do try to, like, if we're consistently seeing that, like, assess, what are we doing? How can I make it more interesting? Or what emotional need is not, are they hungry at this time of day? Or what isn't working? But at the end of the day, you got to do your schoolwork.
Yeah, you don't get to go do the fun stuff with us if you don't do your work.
Yeah, it's like real life, like in real life, if you don't work, then you don't have a job, and you don't get paid, and you don't eat, right? There's no reward there.
We've talked about that so many times. Like, what if Dad woke up this morning and he didn't want to go to work? Then what would happen then? Like,
kids would be like, "Yay, tickle time!" We're like, "No, it's not how it works."
This morning when the kids were unloading they were scrubbing dishes and cleaning off the breakfast table, and they were like, "Well, where's Daddy? He's not doing anything." I was like, "Well, Daddy's going and making money," and they're like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I have a Monday picking
important
machine
part of work.
Yeah.
So Dog23999 asked us a few times, do you need a teaching degree? Do you need to be smart in order to homeschool?
There's
I hope not.
in our state, there's no like legislation about that. Anyone can homeschool their kids. And I feel like I'm most of the time learning alongside with my kids. My kids are still young, but there's also so many resources now on the internet that we can always help them find ways to meet their educational needs. So
yeah,
I mean, I have a Juris Doctorate degree and I could be a professor at a university, but Kendra, her passion and her excitement about it and her love for the kids, I think makes her more qualified than any degree that I could ever hold. And Kendra is really, really smart. Like, she has degrees as well. So.
Nice thing. Anyway, there's no, anyone can homeschool their kids. And I think just being interested, I think the most important thing, there's so much information for kids to learn. It's teaching them how to go and get the information.
Yeah. That's like for me growing up when I was homeschooled, my parents taught me probably up through about 6th or 7th grade. And then once you got into algebra, my dad was looking at my math and be like, when did they start putting letters to it? And so at that point, I'm like, I'm on my own. And it was basically self-taught about half of junior high and all of high school. And there's some things like I needed help on, so I would babysit for a guy's family, and then in exchange my math stuff with me once a week. So there's ways to supplement, but I think the thing that I learned not just answers to questions and problems, but I learned how to learn, which is like everything I've supported our family for the past 7 years has all been self-taught. Like I haven't earned any money on my degrees in 7 years. So I'm not saying degrees are bad or anything. I'm just saying like learning how to learn, I think, is a much bigger skill that serves you through your whole life than just learning answers to different facts and tests,
I completely agree.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you said, like learning with your kids, I think that's really important because not only is it bonding time for you, but for your kids, but I think there's something, I don't know what the right word is. Dan is changing a diaper. Sorry. Well, this one needs a diaper change, that's for sure. But like I guess I use the word intimate, but like learning alongside of your kids, like our whole society is structured by like expert driven, like expert stuff. And I get paid to be an expert, so I'm not really down on that, I guess. And you do too, Jeremy. But it's more about like we're linking arms and partnering together rather than, I don't know. I think it does something really cool for a parent-kid relationship when you're learning together.
Definitely. I think it changes the family atmosphere to just, lifelong learning to promote that.
Yeah. So many good questions you guys have here. Did you guys see any that you want to answer?
People have asked about faith, and part of our daily routine is for the kids to read scriptures, to pray. So that is something that is a part of our homeschooling. And we do that as a family. We pray every night as a family, and that's an important piece of it for us.
Yeah,
and
we have. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I know we do not every night, but about 3 times a week at dinner time. I'll read scripts. I'll read the Bible, reading through the Torah right now. So we just finished tonight. We finished Genesis 42 or 43, and so we just always open up like, okay, where do we leave off in the story, and just kind of reintroduce the characters, where we're at. Then I read the next chapter, and we do that a few times a week, and the kids love it. It's like story time, and it's nice for us because both their hands and their mouths are occupied, so they're not fidgeting, and their mouths are full, so they're not like just talking all the time. So it's like my food's sometimes cold by the time I get to eat it, but I figure that's an okay price to pay for, what we get to do with them.
It works. Awesome. The question that I see coming up the most is just why did we choose to homeschool our kids? And Jeremy touched on that a little bit, but I think it's, for us personally, it's 2 main reasons. And one of them is we love the lifestyle, the flexibility that it brings for our family, and the cohesiveness, like our family spends our days together. And then the other is just kind of a personal educational paradigm. Like we really love learning hands-on and letting our kids be a little bit in charge of their learning. And so those are our main reasons. So anyway.
Ours?
What about your guys?
Why do we homeschool?
I could talk about that subject for a long time.
I enjoy the flexibility of nobody else determining our schedule, of anxiety over school, and just like a ton of anxiety over school. So I'm hoping, and then if I didn't like the teacher, then I wasn't interested in learning. And I would really like to be able to just encourage our kids to enjoy learning and what they enjoy, like being able to go down, like, I don't know, be able to pick our own topics and stuff with different subjects and keep them interested in learning.
Yeah, I'll talk. If you guys want, I think we have a whole half-hour video about that topic. So there's a lot of reasons for it, but
and being able to
being the primary influence in your kids' lives, the freedom, everything. One question, Bradley Cutlip, are you worried about your children falling behind the other kids?
Because they're doing better than I expected.
Yeah. So what we did, I don't know how you guys do it, but our kids our oldest is 6. So we have 6 kids, 6 and under. So we have one in first grade, and then kindergarten and preschool. So what we did is we just downloaded the scope and sequence from our school district. We're not using like a set curriculum yet. And we're just going through the scope and sequence. Like, okay, if they were in our public school right here, what would they be learning right now? And just following that. And we found through like testing them that they're actually both a year ahead already. And we're like, okay. And we haven't even been homeschooling that much because the twins have been born and we've just been really occupied by getting them fed and changed and everything. Sleep. Yeah. So it's been a few months since we've had like a consistent routine with homeschooling. And it's amazing how much they pick up just by living life around their parents. And one of the things we talk about too is like, homeschool is not just like sit down, do your books, and then school's over like it would be in your school. Like school, something happens throughout the day. It's, oh, okay, it's time for lunch. What time does the clock say? Is it time for lunch right now? Or, okay, Hannah, you have 5 more minutes on the computer. What time will it be in 5 minutes? Just integrating stuff into your life. And then they just knew it. And so now we're like, oh, shoot, our kids are like a year ahead now. So can we just take a year off or what do we do?
We back off?
It's like they're both really far ahead.
You can't take a year off because they'll just keep learning even if you don't, like they'll just keep going.
When I was homeschooled, I was in 9th grade. I remember a freshman, and I did all my athletics through the public school system. And so I remember being on the bus, going to different wrestling meets and stuff. And there'd be seniors who needed help with like their math, and they're like, "Hey, Schmoyer, can you help me with this?" So I would go over, and I'd be like, I learned this like 2 years ago. Why are you just learning this now?" And I was so confused as a 9th grader helping seniors with their homework. So I'm not saying I was like smart or anything. I just think that there's a different dynamic to learning for kids who are learning that within the context of their parents in their home than in a, you're giving them like, I don't know, 8 hours at school, but the actual amount of learning time that happens is like 90 minutes, so yeah. I'll stop on that one. I'll talk about that one for a while.
No, I agree. We do similar following the scope and sequence for our kids, and they have never,
like so many different ages. We kind of group Hannah and Zeke together. Hannah gets a little bit more difficult work than Zeke does, and Zeke we're a little bit more lenient since his attention span for a 5-year-old boy is not as much as a 6-year-old girl. So, and then Hallie's way far ahead. But once he starts verbalizing, he'll surprise us with what he already knows. And then of course we'll teach the twins together, but I don't know. For the most part, Hannah and Zeke are on the same. We're teaching them pretty much the same together, but Hannah has a little bit more difficult work.
And we have higher expectations for how she completes the work than for Zeke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our kids are at different levels, and luckily they're still close enough in age that there are a lot of similarities. So when I'm doing things like a science activity or just like a hands-on learning experiment or reading out loud to them, like we just do it all together as a family, even with the little kids, and everybody just naturally does it at their own level, like our field trips and everything. But during nap time in the afternoon is when the kids get their like one-on-one time, and that's when Isaac does like his grammar and his math, and that's when Elise gets her one-on-one like reading, and I guess the kids actually do their cursive handwriting together. So there's some things I'm able to group together, but I just find times, and if it's like a crazy day and nap time doesn't happen or kids are sick, then when he gets home in the evening, that's when I'll take my reading time with Elise. So for reading, it doesn't take that much time. I just need like a 15-minute window to be able to really focus with her on that. So
we've even had times where I'll just bring Isaac up to work with me, and I'll be there with him, mentoring him with what he's doing while I'm doing my work, and that seems to work as well. There's someone asking about test taking. I remember one of the big things when Kendra was trying to kind of convince me into homeschooling. This was a big question for me. I was like, well, how are we going to know if they're up to par with all the other kids? And for her growing up, when she did homeschooling, they did take tests right along with the public school kids. And so
you can choose to have your kids standardized tests. We haven't yet, just because our kids are
so young,
really young.
And so smart. I mean, they'll just blow the test. So, I mean, they'll ace it. Why would they need to? I remember taking standardized testing, and I thought it was a joke because it would be like, it was like a science question. Which of the following pictures is a tree? And had like an alligator, a baseball, and a tree. I'd be like, are you kidding me? This is what the standard is for like what? So I didn't feel left behind.
So I've seen a lot of questions asking like how long we plan on homeschooling, and for us, it's working for our family right now. So we're going to keep doing it right now. When it stops working for our family, we're happy to reevaluate it, but we really love it. So I don't know.
It's definitely, you know, growing up with just public school, it's opened my eyes, I feel, to see what homeschooling is doing for our kids. I feel like a lot of our culture is leading kids to be consumer focused and kind of following focused. And I feel like homeschooling is encouraging creativity. We have creative kids who are creating things and producing. And I feel like that's something we're going to give to them. Just like you, Tim, I look at you and your entrepreneurism and the skills and how you think. I feel like that's what we're giving them, and I'm so excited about that. And you know, like people talk about high school. What will we do with high school? And I feel like at that point, I mean, are they going to be apprenticeshipping and whatever it is they want to be doing and producing instead of just taking tests? I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. We'll have their own businesses by then.
Well, your brother, for an example.
Oh, yeah, my brother.
Your littlest brother.
19 and graduated with his master's of counseling. I was like, I don't know. Like, do you have enough life experience to be a counselor at 19? I know you got the degree. But
19 and you have your master's? Like, who does that?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Homeschool kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one question I was going to wrap up with. I just lost it. I remember. Just so you guys, tell us again for people who are just joining us what you guys do, what your channel is, and can you point them to some of your homeschool vlogs if they want to see how homeschooling works for you? What videos would they look at?
Yeah. So our channel is J House Vlogs. This is Jeremy and I'm Kendra. We have 4 kids. Our littlest is 2 and our oldest is 7. And we homeschool and we daily vlog our experiences, like learning and serving and playing as a family.
If you go to our channel, we actually just put up, I've been wanting to do this for a year, but I just put up a homeschool playlist, and it's the first playlist under our uploads.
Oh, perfect.
And it's some of our homeschool videos, like our first day of homeschool and our last day of homeschool, and some of the fun adventures we've had.
But a lot of our homeschool is just incorporated into our daily life, because when you homeschool, that's
right. Yeah. Cool. And we just did a video. Someone in the chat reminded me, actually, so thank you, that we just did a video like last week of like an inside look at what homeschooling looks like for us. So it's a little bit of a longer video because I show a lot more of the schooling than like we normally do. But and then we also have a homeschool playlist, but it's not on our channel page. You have to click on playlists at the top of our channel, and then you'll find it under there. So you can go check those out. So check out J House Vlogs. There's a link in the description of the video to go see their channel, or again, an interactive card here, the little eye in the upper right corner. You just click on that, and that'll take you to their channel as well. So go check them out. Thanks for hanging out, guys, and we will see you guys on our channel. We go live every
Tuesday and Thursday.
It's getting late. Well, it's not late. It's just tiring because we have 2 little kids. But yeah, Tuesday and Thursdays be live. Then Monday, Wednesday, Friday we publish new videos if you're just hanging out here for the first time. And we're all about becoming a family team. How do we work together as a unit rather than just a group of individuals kind of cohabiting the same space together? So that's what we're learning all the time. So thanks for hanging out, guys. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
J House out.